Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reads for March the 24th of 2018. I'm going to start off by apologizing for the fact that I might look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and as you can probably hear in my voice, I have been sick. I woke up Tuesday morning and I had the really scratchy throat, and I thought, oh gosh. I was over at my grandmother's last Sunday and my brother has a horrible cough and he's been sick. Well, he was sick off and on, and, but yeah, he was coughing like a 2-pack-a-day smoker. It was horrible. But anyway, so, of course, I woke up Tuesday with this scratchy throat, and by Wednesday, I was really feeling lousy, and I actually ended up leaving work early on Wednesday because I was running a fever. Like, I was, like, hot and then cold, and I came home in the afternoon, and I literally slept all afternoon pretty much. And then I ended up working from home on Thursday and Friday because I didn't want to pass too many of my germs, any more of my germs to my coworkers. So I do actually feel better. I don't look that great. I didn't think that there was a point for me to put on makeup because guaranteed during the course of me filming my videos today, I was probably going to have to stop, blow my nose, or start coughing, and I just figured there was no point in doing that when it was probably going to end up disappearing eventually anyway. So it is what it is. This is life. I'm still here. But yeah, like I said, I am feeling better. I just don't sound 100% great yet. So before I jump into all the books that I read this week, I do have two little announcements that I want to make. The first one is that I don't often mention it, but in my videos in the description box below, below all the books that I always like to mention, I always like to leave links to the Goodreads page. I do actually list where else you can find me online, like my Goodreads and my Twitter feed, and my Instagram. And the Instagram is something I haven't really been that active on lately, and I'm really not active on it book-wise. It's not a Bookstagram account, I guess that some people call it. And this, I've been thinking about this over the last few weeks, and I was inspired by another Instagrammer. I don't know whether she'd consider herself a Bookstagrammer, but I believe her Instagram name is 100 Pages Romance or something. I will leave a link to, or I'll leave her Instagram like username in the description box below with all the other information. So if you're so inclined, you can follow her. And she has a really great Instagram account. What she does is she posts the cover of like an old school romance novel, like the old school bodice rippers, you know, the ones from the 80s and 90s. And she goes to page 100 and she picks a quote and she writes it out. And some of them are just hysterical when they're out of context. And, you know, people make comments and stuff like that. And I was kind of very inspired by that. And you guys know how much I love my Harlequin books. So I have started a new Bookstagram account, if you will. That's called 4, and that's the number 4, The Love of Harlequin. And again, that will be linked in the description box below. Down at the very bottom where all the other places you can find me online are linked. And so a couple times a week what I'm going to do is post, same idea, post a picture of a Harlequin romance book cover, and then put a quote, and then give information about the actual book itself, like the title, the author, what series it's from, when it was published, stuff like that. And, you know, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to bring bring Harlequin more to the forefront. When considering it is such a big segment of the romance book market, and it's not something that's talked about very often, either on Instagram, on Twitter, on BookTube, stuff like that. So yeah, so if you're interested in following me, please do. If not, that's your choice. And the other quick little announcement that I want to make, this isn't anything pertaining to me, but I wanted to give a shout out. Well, actually, it's a shout out plus to her shop. Christine, who is Kizzy Reads here on BookTube, I will leave a link to her BookTube channel in the description box below. She has an Etsy shop, and she makes these absolutely adorable. Now, I've shown you these guys before, but if you're new, you might not have seen them. She calls them planner clips, and that's, you know, aren't they adorable? So this is just, she has a ton of different styles. She has ones for fall, ones for Christmas, ones for Valentine's Day. She has religious ones that are like crosses, beautiful crosses, and they're considered to be planner clips. I actually use them as bookmarks. I have this one, and I have a witch's hat. But this one is a unicorn frap, like the unicorn frap that Starbucks had out last year. I think it's adorable. So like I said, I use them as bookmarks. And I will obviously leave a link to her shop in the description box below as well. But the reason I wanted to kind of give her an extra shout out today, see, I'll just show you guys. See, you can use them as little bookmarks because They're essentially just a giant paperclip with this adorableness on top. She is having, I saw on Instagram last night, she is having a 10% off everything in her shop sale until the 28th of March. No coupon code needed. So I may have purchased a couple yesterday. But, so I got a couple Christmas ones, you know, ahead of the Christmas season. And I got like a hot chocolate mug one, but they're just so cute. So I definitely wanted to show you guys those. And just let you know that if you were interested in picking up some, she is having a sale. So definitely go and check that out. What's in my mug today? Starbucks. I had a freebie, so I decided to get it. This is just my strawberry green tea infusion. I absolutely love this. This is like my favorite thing ever. So, and really nice for the scratchy throat. So, all right. All the announcements are done. Let's finally jump into the books, guys. I finished 6 books this week. Yeah, I know. I'm killing it in March. I am so pleased with myself. So the first book that I finished was 6 Years by Harlan Coben. This was narrated on audio by Scott Brick, and it was published in 2013 by Dutton. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I got a few tasks completed out of this one. One was for the What to Read in 2018 task, which was number 12. Pick a Goodreads friend and read a book from one of their shelves. And the friend that happened to have this on their shelves was Alana, and she had it on a shelf called Books Over 400 Pages. So that fit for that one. The next one was for the Fairy Tale Spell Out. I got the S for Red Shoes and the H in Thumbelina. And for the Triple RC for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Challenge, this was for number 28, Peridot, which was read a book with a lime green cover or with a character trying to get some kind of, or a character trying to get out of some kind of nightmare. Now, the whole premise of this book is that, you know, 6 years before the book starts, there's a man, and he is in a relationship over the summer with this woman. And essentially, not a summer fling per se. He thinks it's eventually going to develop into something more. And then he gets an invitation to her wedding to somebody else. So he was actually invited to the wedding, so of course he shows up. And when he shows up, you know, just to see that they actually got married, because he's absolutely heartbroken. He was absolutely in love with this woman. She meets up with him outside the church after the ceremony and just says to him, please don't ever try and find us. Leave us alone, that whole kind of thing, right? So then then 6 years later, so he, you know, he abides by her wishes and he doesn't search them out online. He doesn't do anything like that. And then 6 years pass and he sees the obituary for the husband. So he decides, well, now I can maybe go and talk to her. The problem is that nobody remembers her. Nobody remembers the two of them together. The place where they met no longer exists. It's this really weird, and the whole time I'm reading the book, I'm like, okay, maybe this happened, maybe this happened, maybe it was this. I really, really enjoyed it. I generally don't read thrillers, but this one I thought was really, really good. I'm a new fan now of Harlan Coben. I will be hunting out his books going forward because I'd like to read more. I was telling my mom and my brother about it last weekend, and they're both like, yes, you need to read more by him because he's really, really good. So I was thoroughly impressed with that one, and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I finished this week was A Lesson in Love and Murder by Rachel McMillan. This is book number 2 in the Harringford and Watts series. It is a cozy mystery series of sorts, a cozy mystery historical. It was published in 2016 by Harvest House Publishers, and I gave this book 4 stars. Some challenges out of this one. This was one of my Mystery Madness, March Mystery Madness picks for this year for the prompt historical, of course. This was also for the Fairy Tale Spell Out. I got the L in Ugly Duckling and the R in Pied Piper. And also for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Challenge, The Huntsman, which is read a book with an outdoorsy character. An RCMP officer is in this, and he works up north in the Yukon. So obviously that is an outdoorsy character. So this was a really adorable book. I mean, it's the only way I can really describe it. The events that happen in it are quite brutal and, you know, what have you, but they're given with such a lighthearted twist. This takes place in Toronto in 1912. The first book takes place in Toronto in 1910, and the third book is in 1914, just before the outbreak of the war. And I'm really looking forward to the third one. Although, sadly, though, I don't think there's any more past the third one. I don't know if she's going to be writing anymore, which makes me sad. But anyway, essentially, this is about, the is it the suffragettes? Essentially, women's rights and workers' rights, and there's, you know, these anarchists that are like, you know, women don't need rights, and you know, one of the main characters, Harringford and Watts, are are two female detectives, and Harringford is Miranda, I think is her name. She has no interest in getting married. She has, you know, none of this. She's quite wealthy from her family, and she likes solving mysteries for fun. Jem in the first book, which is Jem Watts, she marries, and she's now married in this book. And as soon as she got married, she got fired from her job, which I guess was standard practice at the time for women. And so they decide to start trying to solve this mystery of somebody's murder. And this mystery takes them all the way to Chicago. The former president at the time, Theodore Roosevelt, is giving a speech, and these anarchists are planning on blowing up the arena that he's giving this speech in and things like that. It's a lot of stuff that goes on, but it's a lot of fun. What I loved was reading about the city. In that time period, the city actually becomes like another character, if you will. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Even if you're not from this area, I absolutely recommend giving it a read. Like I said, it was great. There is a quote at the beginning of every chapter. They kind of have like a diary entry or something like that from some of the different characters. And this one is by one of the characters, and this was actually written in his diary before he left to go to Chicago. So I kind of wanted to read it out to you because I really did like it. It says, "After a while, Toronto will become such a part of you that you won't be able to see any other place without comparing it. That bustling patchwork quilt of a city with its ruggedly sewn-up neighborhoods, the mottled smoke roping up from soot-streaked buildings, the tower clocks ticking, the compass point of St. James Steeple piercing the sky. I will see it everywhere, should I ever be fortunate enough to travel beyond it." And it was just really, really cool. And then they go to Chicago, and what's really fun is that last year I was in Chicago for a few days, and I was there with someone who actually lives in Chicago. So we spent one day touring around the city, and it was really interesting comparing it to Toronto. And, you know, it's just funny prior to reading this book and reading this quote that I was comparing the two. But yeah, this is a great little cozy mystery series. It's completely clean. It's actually listed on Goodreads as being a Christian romance. And religion is talked about in this book, but it's not overly preachy, which is great. But yeah, highly, highly recommend. The next book I finished this week was Once More My Darling Rogue by Lorraine Heath. This is book number 2 in the Scandalous Gentleman of St. James series. It was narrated on audio by Helen Lloyd, and it was published in 2014 by Avon. I gave this book 4 stars. I got 4 challenges completed out of this one. For the fairy tale spell out, I got the O in Goldilocks and the L in Nightingale. For Pass the Parcel, for week number 2, which was read a book with a blonde main character, as you can see from the cover. For the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, my spin number 4, which was in England at the time. A mad person is often portrayed with straw on their head. Read a book with straw on the cover, or read a book set in England or the UK. This was obviously set in Regency, England. And for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs challenge, I got Rose Quartz, which was read a book with a pink cover or a character who was hurt in the past. I was surprised that I enjoyed this one as much as I did. The first book in this series, which I cannot remember the name of right now, I read last year, early last year, because Lorraine Heath was one of the featured authors for the RRC Monthly Challenge, and I read the first book in this series, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. This one I absolutely loved. So it goes to show that, you know, you might not like the first book in the series, but I think it was the characters that I didn't like so much. The writing was great, and the writing in this one was great too. But I really, really like both the characters. Ophelia and Drake are our 2 main characters. And like I said, this book is set in Regency, England. And Ophelia is from a very, very well-to-do family. Her parents are deceased, but she has a very large dowry. And she does not get that dowry, though, until she gets married or she passes her 30th birthday without being married. And Drake was raised by a Duke and Duchess, but he is not one of their children, so he is nowhere an heir with the family. He is very wealthy in his own right, but he's still not one of the aristocrats, essentially. And she, Ophelia, is essentially a mean girl at the very beginning of this book, for lack of a better term. She's very mean to him. She calls him boy. When they're at a ball, she's telling boy, go fetch me a glass of champagne, you know, pretty much looking down her nose at him. And then something happens, and he finds her almost drowned in the Thames River. And that's where this story, and I'm not saying that this is a comedy because it's not. There are some very dark situations that are going on in this book. But at that point, it really started to remind me of that great movie, I think it came out in the 80s, Overboard, with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Because he finds her and she has no memory of who she is. And he brings her back to his townhouse and, you know, kind of trying to give her a one-upmanship idea. He was going to take her home the next day is, you know, convincing her that she is his maid. So, you know, the farce kind of continues on and, you know, she starts to even believe it. And, you know, can't believe that she doesn't remember doing these things and, like, cleaning things, and don't you think she'd remember doing that and stuff like that. So this goes on for a few weeks that, you know, he has her pretending to be, you know, of a lower class, and, you know, she is serving him. Then, you know, more of the story comes out into the reason why she fell in, or why she was found in the Thames, almost drowned, and, you know, his own backstory and stuff like that. And it was a really, really good book. You know, again, I don't want to compare it to that movie. You know, the idea is there. It's almost a very similar idea to that movie, which they are remaking, and it makes me very upset because as much as I love Anna Faris, that the original was just so great. You can't compare. But anyway, I really, really liked this book, and it was relatively, there was some adult content in it, but it wasn't overtly graphic. It wasn't a lot, it just a little bit at the end of the book. So it's more on the tame side, I would say. And you could absolutely read it outside of the rest of the series. If you just want to go and check this one out, definitely do. The narration on it was great, and yeah, I absolutely love this, so I highly recommend it. The next book that I finished was Convenient Cowgirl Bride by Silver James. This is book number 4 in the Red Dirt Royalty series. It is Harlequin Desire book number 2477, and it was published in 2016, of course, by Harlequin. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I got 5 challenges completed out of it. 5? Yes, 5. So the first one was for the Harlequin Romance Monthly Theme Reading Club for March. So this was the March selection that I picked. It had to be a book with a cowboy, but I went with Cowgirl because, you know, why not? This was book number 11 for my Stacking the Series challenge. So I finished 11 out of the 55 books for that. For the Where Are You Reading challenge, I got the state of Nevada because the bulk of the story takes place in Las Vegas. For the Fairy Tale Spell Out, I got the S in Red Shoes. And for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs quarterly challenge, I got the Evil Queen, which is read a book with an evil character or a step-parent, evil or not. This one has, I want to say, an evil character in it. This is book number 4, as I said, in the Red Dirt Royalty series. And this is essentially a series about a group of brothers. And each book is about a different brother. And they run this mega empire of, you know, real estate, and one of them is a U.S. senator, and what's his name in this story? Chase is a, he runs, like, their entertainment portion, you know, a TV station, a music label, you know, that kind of thing. They're wealthy beyond imagination, essentially. And the evil character in this is the father, and I've said that for every one of these books that I've read. The dad in this book just angers me. He absolutely angers me. And, you know a character is well written when either A, you absolutely love them to death and you want them to be your new best friend, or you absolutely despise them. You know, like, they're human, essentially. So the premise of the story is that the father wants Chase, I keep wanting to call him Chance. That's my one issue with this book, is that all the brothers have the same, like, their names all start with the same letter. And they're not everyday names. They're like Colt and Chase and Chance, and, you know, why can't they be like Chris and Connor and, I don't know. Anyway, it's a romance novel thing. I get it. But it when all the characters kind of start to appear together, it gets very confusing. Anyway, so, his father wants him to marry this woman who happens to be a gold digger, but he thinks, like, the father thinks, you know, she'll be good for him, kind of someone to be on his arm when they go to events and things like that, good for the family. He doesn't want to marry this woman at all. So he ends up finding Savannah, and she is a cowgirl. She's in the National Rodeo Championships, and she's broke. She's on, like, her last $10. And he offers her a proposition. Essentially, this is a marriage of convenience, where, you know, he's going to get a wife, and one that he can actually stand to be around, and he's going to pay for her, you know, entry into all these rodeo things, her trailer, get her a new horse because her old horse was injured and, you know, needed to recuperate and couldn't compete and things like that. And, you know, so that's the premise of the story. My one issue with this was not my favorite in this series, and I really do like this series quite a bit, but this one wasn't my favorite. My biggest issue with this one was money. Every chance that they had, they threw out how much money this family had, or Chance had. You know, it wasn't he just looked down at his watch. It was he looked down at his Rolex watch. You know, he takes Savannah into a store and tells her to buy anything at all that she wants because, you know, money is no object. And, you know, the first couple times it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. But then it got to be really annoying. And I just, you know, I almost started rolling my eyes at it every time, you know, like. So, yeah, that was my one thing I didn't like so much about the book. But other than that, the story itself was really, really great. I thought it was a lot of fun. Chance was actually a jerk throughout a lot of the book. I mean, you know, he didn't really treat Savannah that well. But, you know, at the end he redeemed himself kind of idea. And her I really liked. The other thing I didn't like is that they mentioned her mother at the beginning and how her mother's almost like a gold digger as well. And when her mother finds out that she marries this very wealthy man, the mom's like, well, send me money. And, you know, she's like, oh, no, don't send her money kind of idea. But then the mother's never mentioned again. And, you know, if she had such a bad childhood, you thought that that would come back up again, you know, but it didn't. But anyway, outside of that, again, a really great series. These are really quick and easy books to read, and I recommend them, absolutely. The next book that I finished was Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fannie Flagg. This was narrated on audio by Lorna Raver. This was published in 1987 by Random House, and I gave it 4 stars. I got 2 challenges completed out of this one. For the Where Are You Reading challenge, I got the state of Alabama. And for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it was read a book with a green cover or one with family as part of the story. Family was a huge part of this book. Now, I have never seen the movie, so I was coming at this book, you know, without any preconceived notions, which I think is always fun. I'm always a big advocate of reading the book before seeing the movie. I really, really enjoyed this. If you were like me and you do not know this story, essentially what it is, it's about an older woman, and she's in her 80s and she's living in a nursing home. And a younger woman who's in her late 40s is there at this nursing home visiting her mother-in-law. And the two of them meet by chance in the lounge one day. And the old lady just, her name's, was it Ninny, I think? Just starts telling her these stories about growing up in this little town called Whistle Stop in Alabama. You know, not that far from where this nursing home is. And, you know, she starts telling her all these stories about her growing up and other people in this small town, and essentially the Whistle Stop Cafe. What I found in this book, and maybe I didn't get that part of it, but there wasn't an actual plot line per se. There were all these great little side stories about all these great characters. You know, this is the story of a woman named Ruth and another woman named Idgie, I think is how her name is pronounced or said. I did listen to it on audio, and I believe the narrator said Idgie. And the two of them met when they were younger, and then Ruth went off and got married, and her husband abused her, and she pretty much, Idgie and a couple other people came by and rescued her. And they went back to Whistle Stop, and then they opened this cafe. And then the husband comes back to look for his wife. They never said if she actually divorced him or not, I don't think. And then he winds up dead. And it's all who killed him kind of idea. So that's the one storyline, I guess, that runs through this entire book. But outside of that, there's all these little side stories about random characters in this town, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, when I was reading the book, I had to keep reminding myself that this was in 1986. The book takes place in 86. So if you think about it, that's 32 years ago. It kind of made me like stop and think and go, wow, 32 years ago that, you know, this book was written. And it goes back and forth in time quite a bit. It also follows, I think Eleanor is the woman in her 40s who meets up with Ninny in the nursing home. And she's kind of got her own story. She's trying to find out who she is. Her kids are grown and moved. They're both in college. You know, her husband kind of doesn't really pay attention to her. She's not really feeling that great about herself. She eats because she's upset, that kind of thing. And, you know, it's about essentially these two women kind of helping each other. You know, she comes in and visits the old lady because, you know, she's got no one else. And, you know, the old lady's kind of helping her. You know, it's a really, really nice story. It takes place, of course, during the Depression in Alabama, and with race issues and things like that as well. The cafe, you know, gets visited a couple times by the KKK because they are serving black people out the back door, and, you know, people are saying they don't want to eat there because they're serving black people. And it, you know what, it was a really, really great historical novel, and I really enjoyed it. I do want to see the movie now. It was funny, before I started reading the book, I actually watched the trailer for the movie just to see, and I kind of really enjoyed doing that because, not that it gave me any information about the book, but the fact that I now pictured Jessica Tandy, is that her name, Jessica Tandy, as the old lady, and Kathy Bates played Eleanor. So that's who I had in my head as I was reading the book, which was really actually kind of nice. You know, to kind of put faces to the voices and stuff like that. But yeah, this is only my second Fannie Flagg. It was not my favorite. I did actually prefer the All Girls Fill-In Station's Last Reunion better. I think I gave that one 5 stars both times that I read it. This is the only time I've read this one. I really enjoyed it. Not my favorite, but still a really good book. So if you have not read it and you've only seen the movie, I absolutely recommend it. And the audio was fantastic. The narrator on this did an absolutely brilliant job, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then the last book that I finished this week was this one. I finally finished it. Secrets at Court by Blythe Gifford. This is the first book in the Royal Wedding series. It is Harlequin Historical number 1177. It was published in 2014 by Harlequin, and I gave it 3 stars. Sorry for the glare. This I got for the fairy tale spell out, The G in Nightingale, and also for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs challenge for Sneezy, which was read a book with where an illness or a disability is part of the story. So this main character, her name is Anne of Stamford. This is a medieval book, by the way. She has a clubfoot, and, you know, back in medieval England, that would have definitely been a disability. This takes place in 1361, so very interesting. The premise of the story is that she is a lady in waiting, I guess, for for this woman who is going to be marrying King Edward's son, so Prince Edward, and Sir Nicholas is the love interest to Anne, and he is there to deliver the news from the Pope whether or not this couple, you know, Prince Edward and Joan, this woman, can actually get married. And then it's Nicholas and Anne's relationship. And it was a really interesting read. The author really did her research. There is a great footnote at the end of this book as well, you know, about this. And, you know, she talks that, you know, there was a real Nicholas who was sent by the crown on matters regarding to the dissolution of Joan's marriage, not once but twice. You know, so if King Edward had protested, he ultimately supported his son's efforts. You know, I mean, she really, really did her, like, this whole little afterwards, she really did her research on this. Now, there's 2 other books in this series. This one is Secrets at Court. I think Whispers at Court is the next one. And I do want to pick them up because I'd really like to read them. The medieval ones are books that I generally don't gravitate towards as often. I really do love the Regencies, and especially the American, the Western romance ones for the historical. But I really enjoyed this one, probably because it was so well written. And yeah, I absolutely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, guys, that is all the books that I finished this week. So what am I currently reading? My current audiobook is Brownies and Broomsticks by Bailey Cates. This is the first book in the Magical Bakery Mystery series. And this is being narrated on audio by Joanna Parker. I needed this one to finish off a challenge. I needed, I think, 2 or 3 more books, so I've been trying to slot stuff in this month. Unfortunately, some of the items that had been originally on my TBR got pushed to the wayside. I'll talk about that more during my wrap-up, but that's okay. They were books that I could let slip. Do you know what I mean? They weren't books that I necessarily needed for anything. They were just kind of extras that I was going to try and read. So this one I needed a book that featured a witch, and this one, there's a witch. So essentially this is a cozy mystery series about a girl named Katie, and she has moved down to Savannah, Georgia, to live there, and her aunt and uncle, who are both retired, are opening a bakery. and she is a professionally trained chef, or a professionally trained pastry chef, excuse me, and she's going to work in this bakery with them. Well, of course, somebody ends up dead, and, you know, she's investigating the mystery, and she finds out that she's from a family of witches, and it's really, really cute, and I'm really enjoying it, and I highly recommend it. The book I am currently reading, my ebook, is currently 8 Men and a Lady by Elizabeth St. Clair. It's not that kind of book from the title. It is essentially a Snow White retelling, and it's about a woman who has won the largest jackpot in New York State history, and her brother let slip who she was. Now, this book was written in the 90s, so this is a slightly older book for the Harlequin American Romance line. And, you know, the brother's like, he feels so bad about this, so he says, like, you know, he goes on this fishing trip every year for a month in this cabin in the Adirondacks with these other guys. He's like, go up and spend some time in my cabin and, you know, kind of get away from the media, that kind of idea. Well, at the very beginning of the book, she wakes up and there's these, like, essentially 7 grumpy old men who are, you know, up at the shack to fish, or this cabin to fish, and she's now there. So, you know, nothing weird happens with that. It's just, it's really nice, and how each of these old men, even though they aren't named after the dwarves, they take on the personalities of each of the dwarfs. Like, one of them is always sick. There's one of them that's always falling asleep. One of them used to be a doctor, so he's called Doc, you know, stuff like that. And then, of course, it's the relationship that she has with the gentleman who owns these cabins. His name is Mike, and he's fallen on hard times financially and things like that. So the story goes from there. It's really, really cute, and I'm really enjoying it very much. And last but not least, my current reading book, I guess physical book, if you will, is The One Who Changed Everything by Lilian and Darcy. This is the first book in the Cherry Sisters series. This is a special edition, Harlequin special edition. I will be honest, and I have not started this one yet, so I really do not know what this one's all about. It says, Daisy Cherry hasn't seen rugged landscape or Tucker Reed for 10 years. Not since the wedding between him and her sister has been called off just before the big day. Oh, so I guess she ends up having a relationship with her sister's ex. So that should be interesting. This one looks really cute, and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, so that's it for all the books that I have to talk about. Quickly, before I let you guys go, of course, as always, I will show you what I am currently knitting. Excuse me. Sorry, my throat. I'm working on my sock. And these I'm calling my Halloween space socks, because I think the pattern is called the Speckled Space Sock or something like that. Look at the pattern in those socks, guys. Isn't that gorgeous? So yes, so I've put the heel in. There's the heel. So this is only the first sock. But yes, I've been working on this. The last time I showed you guys this sock, I was down here. So I am now putting these markers in for you guys, because I obviously don't show you these things every week. It's pretty much works out to about once a month I end up showing you what I'm currently working on. So yeah, these socks are taking a little longer than normal because of all the intricate pattern work in there. But isn't it beautiful? And look, you can see the sparkling of the yarn. Oh, I just love it so much. So there's just the plain yarn without a pattern. Very, very nice. Yeah. So like I said, I'm putting these in so I can show you guys, because I'm actually not doing my knitting podcast anymore. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it or not. I haven't decided yet. But I haven't recorded since the end of December of 2017. So it's been close to 3 months. And the knitting podcast world has changed quite a bit, and I just don't feel like I'm a part of it anymore, and I'm loving doing this so much more. And my cat is currently trying to eat my headphones. So, thank you, Bernard, for putting those down. We just can't have nice things for cats. But anyway, I shouldn't make myself laugh. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on this weekend, along with reading my books. I have a few more books to finish off before the end of the month. And yeah. So videos coming up this week. I will be doing a book haul. I will be filming that next. And I will also be doing my April TBR, which I'm very, very excited about. So yeah, so be on the lookout for those videos coming this week. And oh, before I go, I wanted to mention, so a lot of you guys mentioned when I did my my vlog a couple of weeks ago in early March that you guys really enjoyed and you wanted to see more. So I got thinking about that, and I'm like, well, when can I do some vlogs? Well, the next one I definitely wanted to do was for the 24 and 48 read-along. I do want to participate and do a vlog for that. Sorry, the cat. Excuse me. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I had to rescue my headphones from the cat, or else I was going to have no headphones. or they were going to be in pieces. So anyway, I knew I wanted to do the 24 and 48. And I started thinking, I'm like, I wanted to do more vlogs this year, like just over the weekend, just something fun. So what I decided to do was, for the long weekends this year, every long weekend, I'm going to vlog for you guys and do reading vlogs over the long weekends. So the first one is coming up next week. And because it is Good Friday, this coming Friday, so I have a 3-day weekend. So I'm going to do a vlog for you guys. So stay tuned for that. You will see that after my next weekend reads or my next weekly reads. But I just wanted to mention it to you guys now that I'm going to be doing it. I do actually plan on doing something actually fun during the day. On the Saturday, I'm actually going to go down to the bookend store at the Toronto Reference Library, downtown Toronto. I don't know if I'm going to actually vlog being there, but I'm going to try and vlog going downtown. I am really, really excited about going. Shannon, at Shannon Riddler, she posted some videos back in February that she had gone down there and gotten a huge stack of books. And I'm like, yes, I really, really want to go. And I want to go and check it out. And I thought it would make a really fun Saturday trip. So again, I will try and vlog that for you guys. So anyway, I've rambled on enough for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you in my next one. Until then, take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.